Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating concept from the PMBOK guide that absolutely changes how we measure true project performance. For any focused learner out there who wants to master project management, understanding how to read your project's actual vital signs is completely crucial to ensuring you actually deliver value to your organization. So we're going to tear down a very common misconception today and replace it with a much more holistic approach that integrates scope, schedule, and cost.
Picture this. You've got a project manager. Let's call him Alex. Now, Alex is running a massive initiative, and every single Friday he looks at a simple spreadsheet comparing what he planned to spend against what he actually spent. The numbers match up perfectly. So Alex goes to the leadership team and says, "Great news, everyone, we are exactly on budget." But here's the catch. What Alex doesn't realize is that underneath that comforting little spreadsheet, his project is secretly bleeding money and falling drastically behind schedule. I mean, how is that even possible, right? Well, it turns out just being on budget can actually be a really dangerous illusion.
Okay, let's dive right into Chapter 1, the project management illusion. So how exactly did Alex get it so wrong? To understand this trap, think about basic budget tracking like taking a cross-country road trip. Let's say you plan to spend $500 on gas by day 3. You check your wallet on day 3, and yep, you spent exactly $500. You're probably thinking, perfect, I'm right on budget. But what if you were supposed to be in Denver by day 3 and you're actually only in Chicago? See the problem? You've spent the right amount of money, sure, but you haven't covered the required distance. And this is exactly why we need earned value analysis. It gives us a holistic view that integrates our scope, our schedule, and our costs all at once. It doesn't just ask how much we spent, it asks what we actually got for that money. Moving on to Chapter 2, the core components of earned value. To help Alex uncover the real truth about this struggling project, we need to give him a brand new diagnostic toolkit. The very first tool in that kit is planned value, or PV. Think of this as your baseline expectation. It's the authorized budget assigned to the specific work that was scheduled to be finished by today's date. In Alex's case, if by week 4, his team was supposed to have finished $10,000 worth of work, well, the planned value is $10,000. It's basically the goalpost. Tool number 2 is actual cost, or AC. Now, this is the harsh reality of the receipts. It represents the realized cost incurred for the work actually performed during that specific time period. Literally, it's exactly how much money has left Alex's project budget so far. So if Alex wrote checks totaling $12,000 to get his team to where they are today, the actual cost is $12,000. So the crucial point is our third tool, earned value, or EV. This one is the ultimate truth teller. Earned value is the measure of the work you've actually performed, expressed in terms of the budget authorized for that specific work. It literally translates physical progress into monetary terms. If Alex's team has only finished work that was originally budgeted for $8,000, then the earned value is $8,000. That's it. It doesn't matter what they actually spend or what day it is. It tells you the true, objective monetary value of what the team has truly accomplished. All right, Chapter 3, Diagnosing True Project Health. Now that Alex has his planned value, actual cost, and earned value, it's time to do a little bit of math. And honestly, it's pretty straightforward. Here is Alex's practical cheat sheet, which you can easily set up with a few simple formulas in common office software like Excel or Google Sheets. First up, Schedule Variance. That's calculated as earned value minus planned value. If the result is a positive number, great, you've earned more value than you planned by this date, meaning you're ahead of schedule. If it's negative, well, you're behind. Next is cost variance, which is earned value minus actual cost. You take the value of the work you finished, subtract what you actually paid for it, and if it's positive, you're under budget. But if it's negative, it means you paid more than the work was actually worth, so you are over budget. Simply subtracting your planned and actual numbers from that earned value exposes the whole reality of the project. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. When you map it out visually, the real story just jumps out at you. Looking at this S-curve graph, we're tracking time across the bottom and cost up the side. You can clearly see the planned value curve, the actual costs curve, and the earned value curve. That visual gap between earned value and planned value, that's your schedule variance. The gap between earned value and actual cost, that's your cost variance. When you see that earned value line dipping way below the others, those variances are widening, and that tells you the project is in serious trouble. But, while variances give us the raw numbers, we really need to understand efficiency. To get a clean, scalable ratio of how well the team is performing, we use performance indexes. The Schedule Performance Index, or SPI, is earned value divided by planned value, and the cost performance index, or CPI, is earned value divided by actual cost. Because these are ratios, a score of exactly 1.0 means you are perfectly on target. Anything 1.0 or greater is favorable. You are highly efficient. But anything less than 1.0, that means you are burning through time or money inefficiently. In fact, the CPI is often considered the absolute most critical metric here, because it proves whether your project is actually delivering real value for the money spent.
Now, what's really interesting and a bit terrifying about this slide is Alex's actual diagnosis. He runs the spreadsheet numbers, and the reality is pretty grim. The Schedule Performance Index is 0.8. That means the team is only progressing at 80% of the planned rate. The Cost Performance Index is 0.7. So for every single dollar spent, the project is only getting 70 cents worth of actual value. Boom, the illusion of being on budget is completely shattered. Because both indices are well below 1.0, the project is officially in crisis mode.
Let's move to Chapter 4, Forecasting the Future, and see how this builds. Alex doesn't just need to know how bad things are today, he needs to know what happens next. So he uses this data as a sort of mathematical crystal ball to predict exactly where the project will end up. Step 1 is calculating the estimate to complete, or ETC. This forecasts the expected cost required to finish all the remaining work, assuming those current poor performance trends continue. Step 2 is the estimate at completion, the EAC. This forecasts the grand total expected cost of the entire project when all is said and done. And step 3 is finding the variance at completion, or VAC, which tells Alex what his final inevitable budget deficit will be. Instead of just guessing and hoping for the best, Alex now has hard, predictive data showing exactly how much extra funding they're going to need to cross that finish line.
Which brings us to Chapter 5, Visualizing the Turnaround. We have officially reached the climax of our story. Alex has all these complex numbers, the variances, the indices, the grim forecasts. Now he's got to take this data and present it to the project stakeholders to try and save this initiative. And this right here is the exact chart Alex generates for that meeting. Notice that solid purple line. That's the original budget at completion, or BAC. But now follow that dotted orange line. That's the estimate at completion, the new forecasted total based on actual real-world performance. The gap between them is undeniable visual proof that the original budget is completely blown. But here's the magic of this. By showing this S-curve early on, Alex completely shifts the meeting away from reactive blame and finger-pointing. Instead, it turns into a proactive problem-solving session to figure out how to actually get the project back on track.
The PM Book Guide states this absolutely beautifully. The value of measurements is not in the collection and dissemination of the data, but rather in the conversations about how to use the data to take appropriate action. Think about that. All of these formulas, the planned value, earned value, actual cost, the indices, they are entirely useless if they just sit quietly on a spreadsheet. Their true value is how they empower the project manager to shift away from reactive reporting and start making proactive trade-offs, triggering the right conversations, and executing a turnaround before it is simply too late. So we leave you with this final thought to ponder. Are you relying on the dangerous illusion of simple spent versus planned tracking? Or will you look beyond the basic spreadsheet, implement earned value analysis, and uncover your project's true health? We really hope this explainer has equipped you with the tools and the understanding to take total control of your next project. Thank you so much for joining us.